The gangs are no longer content with controlling the streets. They are now after the systems that run the country. That is how financial.
But in recent years, this seemingly peaceful nation has been rocked by gun violence.
Welcome to this episode of Common Sense View. When I first moved to Sweden, there is this unusual calm that's hovered over the entire city. At one point I had to ask, don't they commit any crime here? It was so calm that it became a little bit funny. And I asked, don't people die? But what happened years after have turned such a very quiet country into almost the murder capital or gun violence capital of Europe. And the question is, how did we transition from the most quiet country in Europe, most gun-free country in Europe, to the most gun-violent country in Europe? How did that happen? It is easy to blame massive immigration. I wouldn't doubt that played a very heavy role. But blaming immigration alone might not be honest enough, except if somebody is looking for escape route. It's hard to imagine that there are inside Sweden cities or streets in the major city that you dare not enter as a policeman, as a law enforcement agent, or as a government agent to either enforce any rule, make arrest, or take somebody that is maybe a child that is in a home that is not conducive, or things in that nature. There are streets in Sweden, you dare not do that. One of them is Rinkeby, Rosengård is Malmö. But the problem is not that these places exist and that these places have been existing for quite a long time. The problem is they have been allowed to exist for such a long time, and that poses the question, why? Is it that the government is weak in relation to these places, or that they have been abandoned to their own fate, or that they are more powerful, that nothing can be done to make them orderly and to make them live like every other person in this country? I thought in a way they are just ignored, but when you ignore a problem that is heinous, it eats you down. But thankfully enough, I just saw this news today. Gang criminals exploit Sweden's assistance system, report revealed. And the report says gang criminals are exploiting the system of personal assistance. The fact that it is so widespread stands out, according to criminologist Amir Rostami. It's not just individual companies, but rather quite extensive. I mean, it has reached an alarming proportion. It has reached an alarming proportion. I mean, if something is not done and done fast, we might lose the country we have. There's this statement by Anders Thunberg. He made a statement that I think is important. He said, when bullets fly in broad daylight, striking children and grandmothers alike, we are no longer talking about isolated crimes. We are talking about the collapse of public safety. There's no other way to summarize what is going on than this. There's no other way. And I agree 100% with that statement. And he's right. This isn't just a crime issue anymore. It's a safety crisis, a moral crisis. How did we let it get this far? Is the question. How did we let it get this far? How did Sweden become a country where carrying a gun feels more natural to some kids than carrying a school bag? Yet there is a very strong gun law here. You don't just get a gun. Then what is going on? What is going on? It's really disturbing. But this statement by the news organization, by Sweden Herald, that at least now they are targeting the organized crime. The Sweden target organized crime in personal assistance sectors. Authorities sound the alarm about gang criminals plundering their assistance allowances. The assistance is no longer safe. It is hijacked and exploited by organized crime, says Minister for Social Affairs Camilla Watersen Grönvall of the Moderate Party. For at least something is coming up for them to finally wake up that gangs are never satisfied with just controlling the street. The street is where they start to test the effect of their power. When they can dominate the street without any hindrance, they master the streets and then they master the offices. And that is where they are now. They're exploiting the weakest of the weak among us. And an inquiry is now being set up to come up with measures that will better counteract crime within the system for personal assistance. It will, among other things, provide proposal for a new order for how assistance benefits are monitored, something that is currently completely lacking. Yeah, the government welfare is the heart of the Swedish system. It's the heart of the Swedish system. And the gangs and organized crime racketeer have put a knife in it. So they know what to exploit. The fact that they are allowed to control cities. If you can be allowed to control cities, then the presumption that you can control whatever you want becomes so subtle. And that is the issue. That is the problem. Previously, the Social Insurance Agency reviewed the rights to assistance every other year. But in 2008, the so-called 2-year reviews were sought after criticisms from, among others, the disability rights movement. Yeah. Honestly, I have a problem with the activists. Sometimes they have a lot of good intentions, but they don't care about why things are done the way they are done. That means no matter the pressure they exert, sometimes they should be ignored and the right thing should be done instead. Because I believe regular audit is for the good of everyone. At least for purging the system of those who are not qualified for whatever benefit they are getting. Nobody will advocate for stopping the benefit. But when those who are not qualified for the benefits are getting them, those who are qualified are starved. They literally get nothing. They get a fraction. And that what? Springs hatred, acrimony. Sweden Herald going forward. The investigator will also examine whether assistance provided by relatives should be regulated, and the government wants to see more effective controls. Yeah, sometimes controls are also good, but over control can also be another problem. Unnecessary layers of bureaucracy. If it is something straightforward, audit the system and let it flow. But when there are too many organizations controlling the same thing, the possibility of one presuming that this one have taken care of situation arises, and at the end, what should be taken care of is overlooked. When you see those who are already down because of no problem of theirs, and they are taken advantage of, any person who does that can give a damn what you think about the order of the society. And if they're not taken care of, then the problem is on all of us. And according to them, they said they want to get rid of crime. The investigator will be Thomas Farr from the Social Insurance Agency, and the assignment will be presented to the government in January 2027. Another 2 years to let it go on. Isn't it urgent to go to the grips with this? Don't we need measures here and now? And I ask the same question. I assume that the responsible authority, with the information they have, will act with all available means at their disposal today, says the Minister of Social Affairs. Should companies with ties to gang crime be removed from the market? The government is making a long series of different efforts now. A lot of legislation is on its way forward. What we need to do is to continue to act so that we get rid of this crime altogether from all welfare activities. Yeah. The thing is that government is always in the habit of prolonging things. The crime has been going on much earlier than now. Why do we have to give it 2 more years before they are rooted out? You know how the system works. Enter the system and start working. Yeah. Sometimes there can be some damages. As long as they don't outweigh the benefit, it can be handled. So my own concern is when a nation's welfare system, the very foundation of its quality, the very foundation of Swedish quality of life, is hijacked by crime, what is left? Everyone, you and I know that the Swedish welfare system is the core of the quality of life in this country. And when we are reading from the pages of the news that they are hijacked, what is left? We are watching criminals erode the pillars of Swedish society. One fraudulent welfare claims and one illegal deal at a time. And it's gradually snowballing. And we have 2 more years to wait. If we didn't know about it, 2 years is nothing. But we know about it and we're making 2 years investigation. Why 2 years? It didn't take 2 years to join NATO. Why does it have to take 2 years to investigate what is helping the weak of the weak among us? In some places, it's already too late. Entire neighborhoods have fallen under the control of these networks. Places where Swedish law doesn't rule, gangs do.
Often seen as a postcard of neutrality, happiness and tolerance. But in recent years, this seemingly peaceful nation has been rocked by gun violence.
That's all the evidence. Could be shell casings, blood traces.
Last year, there were 342 shootings. Per head, that's more shootings than anywhere else in Europe. And this year is on par to be the deadliest one so far.
We know how to shoot.
As I mentioned at the beginning, Rinkebi. Imagine that. Imagine that. You may say, what is the relationship between that and controlling the the assistance system? It's the same. If you can control the assistance system, if you can control the street, if you can control a whole city, a whole street, you can control whatever arm of the government you want. It's just about having the right people at the right time at the right places. There are places in Sweden today where the state has effectively lost control, and we all know about it. And the rule of law has been replaced by the rule of gang. This is not my word. This is the words of National Police Chief Mas Lothing. As he said. And when the police chief is saying it, he sounded like helpless. If the police chief is sounding helpless, what is our fate? And I can understand. He cannot act beyond the power he is given. He cannot act beyond the power he is given. Yeah, it is true that there are bullets everywhere. But actually the main damage is that they are done underground. Tax fraud, welfare abuse, shell companies, bribery. The gangs are now just chasing street power. They are chasing systemic power. They are in control everywhere. Yeah, of course, You might even believe that the street hijacking has become the main distraction, and you are right. The main crimes are committed inside the offices because they have their people everywhere. They know how to put their people at the right positions, and they are successful because they are able to control cities. It wouldn't be difficult to control any system of the government, and they are everywhere. If they are not everywhere, why is it suddenly everywhere on the pages of the newspaper? The gangs are no longer content with controlling the streets. They are now after the systems that run the country. That is how Financial Times put it. They are no longer controlling the streets. They are now after the system that run the country. I don't know where the interests of the people in charge are. At a certain point, everything is coming to a halt. At a certain point, everything will come to a halt. Several days now, we have been stopped along the way. There is a train signal loss, and you will stay on a particular spot for 40-50 minutes. I have never seen a thing like that since I have been in this country. But it has become rampant these days. It's either people who are not competent are being put to where they are, or something nefarious. That is nefarious already, because at this point in time, we are supposed to have evolved beyond this level. But apparently, we are not. And the point is that billions disappear into the shelter, not just robbing the treasury, but shaking the very trust that holds a country together. This is why establishing of the new commission by the Swedish government matters. Establishing this commission, it matters so much now. It comes too late, yes. More damage had already been done, but it's a necessary first step in reclaiming control. A nation cannot survive when parity system of power thrives within it. And no democracy can endure when criminals profit from welfare that hard-working families do. Now, I believe this commission, if it's serious, which I believe it is, if it is transparent, which I hope it is, and backed with real authority, which I hope it is, they can be the start of something we deeply need. Because if we don't act now and act decisively and fast, we may wake up in a country we no longer recognize. And that is not the Sweden I want for you and for me. And of course, not for our kids. And please, on that note, I say, tell me what you think. Are we on the right path or not? Let me know what you think on the comment side. And if you didn't subscribe yet on your way in, please don't forget to subscribe. Also like, comment and share. That helps the algorithm. Thank you very much for watching. And please let's put our hands together and save this country. We live here and we call here home. Let us make it home for every one of us.